Bildy here. Time for the much awaited video on love. It's a complicated subject, isn't it? It's complicated even further by our definitions. How do we define it? What are we talking about exactly here? It's strange, I think, that the English language only has one word that encompasses a huge range of things that are different from each other, but they're all the same thing. I love my mother. I love my wife. I love my family. I'm in love with you, baby. I love strawberries. I love a toilet when I really gotta go to the can, man. Those aren't the same things, but they have only one word. I learned in seminary school that the Greeks and even the Hebrews had a lot of different words for what we have one word for. The word translated in the New Testament as love, I think there's 5 different Greek words that mean different things. We're going to focus on 3 of them. And in the Old Testament, you got your Hebrew. They had different words that were translated as the same thing. Well, it depends on your English translation too. They've kind of parsed that out in some translations. But yeah, we're going to look at this a little bit. If I can do this on my dry erase board in Greek today we're going. Okay. I'm going to have to divide this up into sections because I don't want this to be 3 hours long. And I can't keep track of 3 hours worth of information. So we're going to divide it up, okay? Look at how. We have the Greek Eros. I got it in red. In Hebrew, it's yada. That's Hebrew, not Yiddish, okay? In Yiddish, yada means something else. Yada, yada, yada. You know, minor, insignificant stuff. And also there's a sexual content to Yiddish word yada. If you look up the word origins, it usually brings up Lenny Bruce, of all people. He was a nasty piece of work. Lenny Bruce popularized it in one of his routines. He had a prisoner who would only say yada 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 yada. Everybody thought that was just freaking hilarious, especially your, comedy clubs in the Poconos where people of his ilk made their debut. But yada in Hebrew is different, and it means pretty much the same thing as Eros from what I've seen. Eros. That is a passion. In ancient Greek philosophy and Roman way of thinking, it was a passion. Cupid, draw back your bow and let your arrow go. It's something that comes on you from outside. It doesn't come from inside, as pop culture would have you to believe. Maybe your experience, your genes, your influence, something you ate, something you saw, things that go into your windows of perception affects it, but it comes from outside. A passion is flung upon you, and it might not be appropriate. It might not be a good idea to pursue this passion. It's dangerous. It's a very dangerous passion. The Greeks understood it as a very dangerous passion. The imagery of Cupid with his bow and arrow. Ancient people knew all about arrows. They're nasty. You don't want to get hit with an arrow. It does a lot of damage. And if you're lucky and live through it, it has to be pulled out. And that's a really nasty job. Then it could get infected. Don't get hit with arrows. There's a reason why that's the imagery that they use for the passion, Eros. Cupid, I think, was Eros' son, if I remember correctly, in the Greek mythology. It's a passion that comes upon people. What are the passions besides Eros? Not love, Eros. In English, we call it love. I'm in love with somebody. I'm in love. I'm in love with a girl. I'm talking about. I'm in love. Okay, it happens. Oh, for you just listening, that wasn't Mark Farner. That was Uncle Bildy. Okay, just so there isn't any copyright infringements. I'll try not to sing in the future. I'm sorry, but people are influenced by their culture and the norms and the window of normality in their culture, where more and more they're falling in love with people of the same sex. That used to not happen. Or if it did, it was suppressed. You know what happens to this passion, love, if you suppress it? It goes away. If you don't feed it and dwell on it and do little things to advance it, it'll fade out and go away. Uncle Bildy knows this firsthand. Uncle Bildy has had inappropriate passions. I've been in love with married women a couple of times. You know what I did about it? Nothing! I suppressed it and I directed the energy to something more productive and fruitful. You know why? Because I don't want to go there. It's bad for you. You want to screw around with another man's wife and a family? Or you want to do that? That's demoralizing. It's degrading. It's beneath your dignity. You should never do something like that. But a lot of people do because they have the passion and they want to satisfy it. Short-term gratification. They're willing to sacrifice everything to that. It's a bad idea. Or it doesn't go away because they dwell on it and think about it. And they watch her. They sneak around and they watch her and they put themselves in her path and talk to her. And, so what are you doing? Yeah, and they throw signals at each other. It's a strange thing, passions. I got in debates a lot of times and a lot of back and forth emails with the homosexuals that were always lurking around paleoconservative sites for some strange reason. They wanted to be a part, but they wanted to broadcast their identity. I don't know if they were looking for dates or what. I don't know what the hell their deal was, but they were always, there's a few of them that I respected that were intellectually honest, but they held on to this identity of as being a homosexual. And I learned a lot. I even hired one, my graphics on my book cover. I hired one of those guys to do it. He was a very gifted graphic artist. And he was interesting guy, brilliant, very well read. He wanted to be an Orthodox Christian. He described himself as an Orthodox Christian, but he also described himself as a homosexual. And he thought it'd be cool as long as he's celibate. Well, if you're celibate, why do you describe yourself as that? Anyway, I learned a lot about how they think. They romanticize, the thing that they do, and they really get their panties in a bunch if you describe it in graphic detail and ask pointed questions about it. I have a little fun with that. But anyway, it's a passion, and they don't say it's wrong. I don't need to be thinking about this. I need to get off this. They never do that. They dwell on it and they entertain it and they probably act on it, and that kind of locks it into place. Acting on stuff locks it into place. And one of the arguments that I often use is I said, listen to me. You say you have these tendencies. They come from within you, and it's who you are. It's part of your identity, and it's the way God made you. Those are their arguments. I can do that too. I have a tendency to be really comfortable with extreme violence. I am. I used to be an outlaw biker. I actually kind of enjoy it in some circumstances. That's just the way I am. God made me that way. This is from inside of me, and I need to express myself. Is that okay? Of course not. They would say, no, that's not okay. This is not okay. You need to curtail that. You need to judge it. You need to sanction it. You need to not do that, not go there. You need to be a civilized person and not, maim people, okay? Just because they annoy you or you don't like them or you want to make an example of them. Well, dig this, Sally. It's the same thing. You have your passions, I have my passions. So I used to think, I can't really condemn these people because they're just doing what they're tempted with. I've never been tempted with that. I find it extremely repulsive. But, I did a lot of things I was tempted with, but that doesn't fly either. You have your lines, you have your limits. You say something is wrong, stop doing it, stop entertaining it, resist the passion. It may take time. Maybe it'll never go away. You might have to resist it the rest of your life. I do. I would really like to thump some people. I think I'm perfectly justified in it, in a moral sense, but I don't do it. Passions. There's a lot of passions. Grief is a passion. You know that? It's something that's foisted on you from outside. Something happens. You love somebody and they die, or something happens to them. You have grief. Or somebody shuns you. Somebody says, I don't want anything to do with you anymore because you're one of those truthers and a conspiracy nut. And you have grief over a relationship ending like that. But it's flung on you from outside, and it's a passion. It can run away with itself. You need to judge it. You have knowledge of what's right and what's wrong, what's logically consistent, what's good for you and everybody around you. And use those tools to judge as to whether something should be indulged in or not. If it's a passion, that's a clue right there. It shouldn't be indulged in. What else is a passion? I had a list of them. I started early and didn't bring it all up, but look it up. Google. What are the passions? Jealousy is a passion. Some people are. I never understood that. I'm lucky. I've never had problems with that passion. I'm not virtue signaling. I don't decide what passions I had. You're dealt a deck. You're dealt a hand out of the deck. Some people have the jealousy card that they have to deal with. I don't. Other people do well, even if they don't freaking deserve it. It doesn't bother me a bit. I've worked a lot of jobs where people came in as, the boss's nephew, or not even that. There's just no reason why they hired this guy. And he's little Lord Fauntleroy. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't do any work. He gets in the way and obstructs things, but he gets the same pay as I do. You know what? I made a contract for X amount of monies to do X, and I do it. I don't care what other people do. They can make 3 times as much money as I do doing nothing for the same people. It actually doesn't bother me. I guess I'm lucky. Thank God I'm lucky. I don't have that. And some people do. Some people get really angry about that. And they're very maladroit about it. If you're going to get revenge on somebody and torment them because you think they got it too soft, well, I understand that. But you should have some elan about it and have some elegance. But most people get really crude when they're jealous about something. If people jealous of me, okay, we're talking about love here, but it's all connected. Stay with me. It all hooks together. I went to Afghanistan, and my little circle of people, they said, "You're nuts. You're crazy. I can't believe you're going over there. That's the stupidest thing." Okay. Thank you for that. And I came back on an R&R to take care of some business. I think my second one. And the same people were like this. They were all like, "It must be nice to make all that money. Oh, you're just rich now. You can buy anything you want." And they had that tone of voice even. I thought, what the freaking hell is wrong with you? I thought I knew these people. I said, "Well, I can get you on. You want to go there and make some of that big money?" "No, that's crazy. I'm not going there. You're nuts." How can you hold both opinions? Jeez. You learn who to quit hanging out with through such things as that. Thank God for them. Anyway, back to love. Love is a passion in that sense. Eros, the Greek word eros. And a lot of people have a big problem with it. I I was an outlaw. I wasn't much interested in starting a family back then. I figured that's something I'm going to do when I get old and I'm all out of adventure. I'm ready to settle down. Then I'll get some nice young wife. I'll probably have my own private island by then. You know, I'm thinking like that. That's how kids think. And I'll find some paradise in Shangri-La. Through my adventures. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. But I was a romantic. That's not the way it's meant to be. I was pretty warped. There was nice girls in my hometown. I didn't pay much attention to them. I liked the hoodsies and the crazy socialites. A lot of my dating was, you know, women from other cities, bigger cities, from posh families that wanted to rebel, because they were a lot of fun. And there wasn't any sort of permanence or any intention of permanence in any of that. And it's just not right. You're supposed to find somebody in your hometown that your parents know, and you know the families. There's such an advantage to that. Oh, my teeth came loose. Sorry. There's such an advantage to knowing somebody, knowing their family, and their family knows your family, and you know all about them. That's a great thing. That's the way it's meant to be. Local. The village. Your community. You stay in your community. Marry the girl next door. I should have. But, no, I was a romantic and I read all kinds of books and I wanted to go to exotic places and do all kinds of things first. And it didn't work out all that well for me, actually. Maybe it does for some people. But I see the wisdom in... But then if I just stayed at home and I'd done all that, work at the factory, have kids, you know, I was thinking, I don't want to do that. But if I had, I'd had a different attitude about it. I just see the beauty of it. It's too late now. That's life. Some of you younger lads can learn from it. I don't know if you're a listener or not. Somebody told me, I think I would have listened if they told me the right way. So Uncle Billy's giving it the old try to tell you the right way. This men going their own way stuff and all that, that's a whole other subject. I'm going to address that too later in another video. A lot of that has to do with the passion. Because I've seen dudes. After my religious epiphany, I try not to speak Christianese, but in Christianese, after I got saved, I concentrated on the Word of God and learning and going to church every chance I got and going to Bible studies and praying and studying and hanging out with Christian fellowship, and I didn't even think about women. I was around some. Eventually, because I was a young man, I thought, you know, some of these girls are pretty fine looking. I wouldn't mind starting a family and being a regular guy. And I had a little nut. I had a little money. I had a good job. But doctrines will get you. I was in Houston during the name it, claim it strip center church boom. And they were teaching. As I was involved with all kinds of youth groups and evangelical groups, and there's all kinds of young unmarried women around. But they were all like, they were all taught that you have a specific desire of what you want in a husband, and God will give you that. Don't you settle for anything but exactly what you want. And they believe that crap. And you try to hang out with one. No, I don't believe what Jesus has sent me a husband. I don't date. Well, maybe dating is not such a good idea, but working together and hanging out. I fixed a lot of cars and moved people into third-story apartments without an elevator, did a lot of stuff like that. And I never really turned on the charm and went after them because I saw the other guys doing it. I mean, they were really like puppy dogs. They were like, you know, and I could see that. I kind of felt sorry for the girls because they were surrounded by that stuff. And these guys, you know, hey, down boy, what's wrong with you? I tried to be elegant, discreet, artistic, and express my virtue and identity and love in its infant form for these ladies in a different way. And eventually I'd get a little pat on the head and say, I wish I could find a man like you. Really? Okay. I got told that a lot. I wish I could find a man like you. What the fuck am I, chopped liver? You know, I didn't say that, but that's what I thought. But they were into that doctrine. They wanted system people. And then I heard a guy at a Bible study. He just flat out started asking these women that are sitting around in the circle. I said, what do you want? What are you looking for? Oh, I want somebody that is tall, dark, and handsome, but not too tall, and not too dark, and well, not too handsome, and has a good relationship with mother, but you know, not too good. And he should be fairly wealthy, but not too. She don't know what the freaking hell she wants. She has no freaking clue, but she's waiting for that because the preacher told her she could get exactly what she wanted. She just put in her order and God will deliver him. We'll come crashing through the kitchen ceiling one day, honey. I'm home. I mean, that's what they thought. You know what? A few of these women, I know about where they're at now and what they're doing. Most of them are a little younger than me, but not much. They're pushing 60. They're still single. And they missed it because of this doctrine being taught. The doctrine served the people that taught it because they had these people that would just give. They were single. They didn't have a family, and they'd put all their money into the ministry and all their volunteer work and all their time. Yeah, man, it worked pretty good, didn't it, for somebody? It didn't work out so well for others. But, you know, they had their own trip. Maybe they're happy. Maybe they really got close to God. Yeah, there is such a thing as celibacy. St. Paul touted it. He said he was blessed with being celibate. He said, not everybody is like me. Not everybody has this gift. He called it a gift where he wasn't burning with desire when he's talking about marriage. Because back then it was a bad time to be in love. Like the song I was singing, there are bad times to be in love. There's bad times to get married. Doesn't mean you shouldn't. It's Paul's opinion. It wasn't really God's command. You got the chops to do it, to get married and take care of a wife and take care of kids in this environment and the one that's coming. Do it. I mean, if you know you can do it, do it. We need people like you. That's men going their own way because the laws favor women and they can really screw you. Well, boo freaking who. I got screwed. I'm still here. I'm okay. I'd do it again. But, you know, I know some things. I'd be pretty careful. Anyway, I'm getting way off course with here. We were talking about passions. We're talking about Eros. People... There's a lot of guys that are so mature they think because they fall in love with a girl and they think it comes from within them and not something foisted on them from outside. It can be something elicited by the woman too. There's a certain witchcraft about that can happen as well. But they think that she owes him something. And then they make real asses of themselves. You see that everywhere you go. Seems to be an awful lot of problems that come from that. Just saying, you got to control yourself. You got to judge things, whether it's good, whether it's bad. If you're in love with another dude, you know what? You need to take a pill, man. You need to calm down, forget about that, try to do what's right, direct that energy into something else, like, you know, learning the scriptures or something else, something good. If you're in love with a married woman, the same thing. Or if you're loving some girl that just isn't into you, well, you know, you can elegantly and kindly and aptly or adroitly express and make offers. But, you know, if she wants you to go, you know, take a long walk on a short pier, then you should leave her the freaking hell alone and forget about it. It's not going to happen. I know people that have pushed through eventually and won women over, but it took time, and I think other circumstances happened in her life to bring her around to it. I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just giving some points to consider. I just seen a lot of weird stuff going on. It's traumatic, and there's no freaking reason for it. The only thing that you need to cure most of it is a little knowledge, and a little self-control, and control those passions. Eros, yada, yada, yada. I think that's funny. The Hebrew word is yada. In Aramaic, it's something similar. Oh man, I didn't write that down. I didn't write down the Aramaic. That was interesting too. Yada in Aramaic, it means something else. It means a sacrifice or a confession, and having to do with worship and ritual. Yada. I think that fits too. In Hebrew, yada means to know. Literally, the literal meaning is to know, but it's used in a sexual content sometimes. Yada. And then in Yiddish, of course, it's yada, 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 whatever. That language pattern, that grammar is similar in a lot of languages. I hung out with Indian people, dot, not, feather. They were gas. They all spoke good British English, and they would switch back and forth from Hindi to English. And in Iraq, I had Indian crews in my truck, and we'd be flying along trying to make some time in these narrow roads along the canals, and they had tracks from the Russian floating bridge delivery vehicles. They take those rubber tracks off and lay them across the road for speed bumps, and you wouldn't see them all that well. And I hit some at full speed, and Indians would go flying and bumping their heads on the ceiling, and then the old elder would always go, oh, Maharani, take maybe too much speed going, son. I love those guys. They'd always bring me tea and a chair, and I'd sit down and just tell them what to do. It was a cushy job. But anyway, one thing they would say all the time is there's a whole bunch of talking, a whole bunch of BS, a whole bunch of bureaucratic stuff. The safety guys or some of the MPs that start giving you a hard time and talking and trying to dress you down and confuse you and put you in your place. And the Indians will say, oh, too much giddy, sir. Too much giddy. What's that mean? Giddy. Oh, fucking. Too much giddy. Yada, 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 yada. It's the same thing. It's interesting, their language really betrays us sometimes. Yada. Eros. Love. One word. Well, I think we dealt with that pretty adequately. I didn't exhaust it. I could go on all day, but I don't want this to be too long. If I think of some more things, I'll put an addendum on it. I'll make a little short video to fill in the gaps and throw in all the stuff I forgot, because I don't follow notes very well. Oh, here, check this out. I'm gonna read King James to you. Now this is one of the places in the Bible where they translated it into something other than love. And it's talking about Eros, it's talking about yada. Wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lusts of their own hearts, to dishonour their own bodies between themselves, who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this cause God gave them up unto vile affections, for even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature, and likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the women, burned in their lust one towards another, men with men, working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves the recompense of the error which was meet. God didn't punish them. They bought a ticket and took some poison and punished themselves. There's a lot of things that go along with these strange passions if you give way to them. They're consuming. people get so consumed. They can't get enough, and they got to get weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder. And you see the pattern. You see people that are looking at pornography, and they get into lipstick lesbians and like watching that shit. Yeah, that's okay. But your mind has to have logical consistency. So if that's okay, then this is okay. And you go from precept to precept right down to the sewer. I mean, I've told people this straight up and they laughed at me, but you know, watching lipstick lesbian porn is a gateway to homosexuality. One minute you're watching a couple of hot chicks making out, next thing you know, your bottom's up in the bathhouse waiting for the next anonymous turd burglar to come around and have at you. Yeah, it happens. Anyway, I just thought I'd put that out there. I've seen people turn homo, and it does something to them. Because the next thing you know, they start talking like the fuck, you know, I just fucking, you do that so hard, you know, it's just that. They start getting effeminate. They start getting that duck mouth thing going, and they start getting, yeah, they did something to themselves and they can't stop. Pretty strange stuff. Does something to their face too, you can see it. There was a study done, I might have shared this before, but yeah, a study by experts, right? But this seemed legit. I like the controls. They took 1,000 faces from gay websites, people soliciting partners, and they cut the face out. No hair, no clothes, just the face. And then they took some from hetero sites, presumably hetero, this dude's looking for chicks, right? And they mixed the faces all up with them identified, but not visibly identified. And then they had subjects come in. I think it was 1,000 subjects. You would sit at a table and you have a button on your right hand and a left hand. One's gay, one's not gay. They flashed these faces on 1 second at a time. You had to decide, gay, not gay, gay, not gay, gay, not gay. And something like, if I remember correctly, it was like 87% of the people got in the 90% accuracy as to which ones were gay. You can see it in their face. They're always broadcasting. It does something to you. Because I've done that. I'd be looking at a newspaper article. The first thing I see is the paper. I remember Bradley Manning. What's he call himself? Chelsea now, whatever. But anyway, when that story broke, it was in Stars and Stripes. I was at the DFAC in Kandahar. And I saw this guy's picture and I thought, oh, holy crap, look at that mo. And I read the article, and sure enough, yeah, he is unhappy because he's a homosexual. I saw it in his freaking face, a black and white photo in a newspaper, for crying out loud. I've done that a lot. I see pictures and think, that guy is kind of lighting the loafers there. Read the story, and sure enough, I was right. Yeah, there is something. It does something to you. There's a spiritual dimension to it. And it manifests in all kinds of physical ways that can't be described by science. Well, except in that experiment. That was pretty sciencey. Anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there. I'm through throwing things out here. This is going for half an hour. We're going to shut it off now. I'll maybe do some more on Eros, but I'll do some other videos, and I'm going to go on with our study of love, because this is important. Eros. And there's another kind. Let's address these. Phileo. Like Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love. Shut up, Tina! Okay. And then there's, that's brotherly love. And I've got a great story to share about that y'all really like and get something out of. And then there's the ultimate, agape. Sacrificial love, self-sacrificial love, the love that God has for us, that you can have for God and for each other. It's a hard thing to do. They talk about tough love. Well, that one's really tough. It's tough on you, but it's good for you to do it. We'll address those later. Uncle Bill D, signing out.